Namaste nerds, it's Navanad, Budget Pub Stomper, and today we're going to be talking about Temur Pirates. This is Malcolm Tana. I've been getting a lot of questions in the Discord. The Discord is blowing up. I do want to just take a second to thank everybody for watching and commenting and even sharing these videos with people. That is something that I haven't had happen very often in the past, but now I've got people coming in that so-and-so showed them this video, and that brings them into the Discord, and things are really starting to move and blow up, and we're able to fire off pods and able to really talk seriously about the prospect of a $100 budget competitive event, like a tournament coming up. So without further ado, let's get into Malcolm Tana. This is a deck that I have as one of my top, I don't know, just in overall power. I think it's one of the best 5, 6, 7 decks in the format. I think you can make a really good argument for this just being the best deck in the format. I know there are people that are pretty well in the know that do feel that way, and I think they've got a perfectly justifiable position. And I just say it's one of the more powerful decks, and it's a very good deck as an entry point into competitive Commander. Really, whether that be cEdh or our little niche $100 max, you're really just going to be hard-pressed to find a better entry point than Malcolm with a red Commander, and Malcolm Tana might be the best deck to start with if you're kind of more new to playing high power, very high power, competitive leaning combo decks. I've had a lot of people in the Discord recently asking, hey, I came in off this specific video. What do you think about this for a new player? I haven't played many combo decks. And it's like, yeah, most of the decks on the channel, I think you could, as a newer player, newer to combo, newer to competitive, you could make it work. You could start with Kefka. That's an example, or Squall. And you could, put some time, effort, energy into understanding the lines, and I think you'll be fine. But I don't think that you can do much better than Malcolm with a red partner. And for kind of like beginners, I think that Malcolm Tana is probably chief amongst them. And it's really because of this super broken card, Tana the Bloodsower. That's a joke. It has nothing to do with Tana the Bloodsower. This deck is all about Malcolm, and Malcolm is just using Tana's colors and some of her friends to just be a very consistent, linear, focused combo deck. And so if you're if you're coming into the format kind of new to combos, the main win line to this deck is very simple, and even the kind of backup plans are relatively easy. And playing the deck is not particularly difficult either if you do kind of a linear, turbo slanted, just trying to present a win on turn 3 or 4, and then 5, and then 6, and just keep trying to present wins until you get one to stick. That's what this deck is good at. It's what the deck is great at. And also being able to protect its wins. So here we have a very consistent deck, with very powerful, a very powerful mana engine in the command zone, which checks one of my big boxes for competitive commanders, and it's a combo piece in the command zone, which checks another one of the biggest boxes, in my opinion, things you should be looking for. So what does the deck do? Well, I think the first thing I should explain and describe would be the main win line of the deck, which is just Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator. It's a flying 2/2 legendary creature Siren Pirate. It's a 2/2. It's a pirate. So it says whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage, and now it doesn't say combat damage, and that's important. When one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. So if you hit somebody with a Malcolm, you make a treasure. If you hit somebody with an Amoeboid Changeling with a Malcolm in play, you make a treasure. If you hit somebody with the ping ability of Glinthorn Buccaneer, you make one treasure for each opponent that got pinged in that specific pinging. So this is the main combo. Glinthorn is a pirate. Malcolm says that pirates dealing damage create treasure tokens. And so with Malcolm in play and Glinthorn Buccaneer in combat, you have this ability to pay 2 mana, a red and a colorless, to discard a card, draw a card, and then deal 1 damage to each of your opponents. So let me read the card. It is red, red, 1 for a Minotaur Pirate with haste. It says whenever you discard a card, Glinthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent. You can pay 2 mana, discard a card, draw a card, activate this ability only if Glinthorn is attacking. Now this concept of it being attacking, that applies before blockers are declared. It applies after damage is dealt. It happens. The card basically works exactly the way that you would want it to work in basically every situation in combat. What I mean by that is if you don't have an open lane, if you don't have a way to get both of your pirates through, let's just say your board state is exactly Malcolm. Maybe you've got a Dork, a Malcolm, and a Glinthorn, and some land, and that is your entire board state. And your opponents all have clogged up battlefields. As long as you go to combat, and before blocking actually takes place, you can activate this guy by paying 2 mana, say tap a Dork into land. Then you can discard a card, draw a card, deal 1 damage to each of your opponents, which is going to ping each of your opponents, which is going to make 3 treasures. Then, still, before you actually run this guy into a blocker, you can pay 2 of those treasures that you just made to make your 2 mana to activate it again. And that's going to ping everybody. You'll discard a card and draw a card. And then you're going to make 3 treasures. You'll crack 2 of those 3 treasures and do it again and again and again. And you'll deal effectively infinite damage. It's capped by the number of cards you have left in your deck, but it's not capped in the way that Niv-Mizzet is capped, because here, as we're discarding and drawing through our deck, we are pinging each opponent for every 1 card in our library. So if you've got 60 cards left in your deck, you can deal 60 damage to each opponent. Assuming you have 3 opponents, or actually I guess assuming you have at least 2 opponents. Because you do need to ping at least 2 people in order to make the 2 mana to keep this going virtually infinite. So that's the main combo. We have Malcolm in play. We either just cast Glinthorn Buccaneer, or we use any of our myriad, just megatons of tutors to either get this in hand and then play it, or cheat it right directly into play. Then you just win the game, or it's like an interaction check. If you're not interacted with, or if you're able to hold up mana for protection, and you ought to be, or if you have something like a Siren Storm Tamer in play with 1 mana open that you can use to protect your combo, or a Spellskite, which is $6.80, but it's worth it in this deck. I think it is. It's tough to fit a $7 card, but Spellskite it's really hard to lose the game if you can put a Spellskite in play and then you can put your combo in play. Spellskite is busted. It doesn't go in every deck because of the price tag, but if you can fit it in a deck, it works specifically well in decks that are trying to win with exactly creature combos. Because how do you stop a creature combo? Most of the counterspells in the format don't hit creatures. Now, that's less true in budget competitive than it is in, say, cEdh proper, but it is still plenty true. The best, most efficient, the slimmest counterspells don't hit creatures. So most of the time when you get stopped with this deck, you're being stopped by creature removal. And if you can stick a Spellskite, and mostly people aren't going to be countering your Spellskite, if you can stick a Spellskite, say turn 2 or 3, and then you can jam your combo on turn 3 or 4, you probably have that wrapped up. So is that the only thing we're doing? Well, it's a lot of what we're doing. Mostly your general cadence, the game plan, the curve out that you're looking for with this deck is just going to be very simply turn 1, Mana Dork, turn 2, Malcolm, then turn 3 you are either going to be setting up for a protected win on turn 4, or you're going to be trying to jam an early win on turn 3. So either you're just going to have the ability to Glinthorn, just drop it out of your hand into play on turn 3 and go for it, or you're going to be able to Eldritch Evolution your Mana Dork into a Glinthorn, or Neoform your whatever 2-drop into a Glinthorn and try to win very fast turn 3. Most decks don't ever win faster than turn 3. This is a deck that can do a lot of turn 3 winning, and it virtually is guaranteed. If you mulligan the deck properly and play it well, it's virtually guaranteed you're going to have a turn 4 win attempt. And again, most of the time that's going to be protected. So that's the main combo. That's the main thing we're doing. Turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Malcolm. Turn 3, you're either going to be looking for a win. You're either going to be like actually jamming a win, or you're going to be setting up for a win on the next turn. When you're setting up for a win, the way that's normally going to go, or the way you should try to make that go, is you should be playing a piece that's going to protect your win on turn 4, or you're going to be or you're going to be holding up interaction to make sure that you can help stop any turbo-y decks or faster decks. Maybe they're a turn faster than you in this game, or maybe they just are first in turn order. So maybe you're going to be holding up interaction and dropping some kind of a value piece. Or you're just going to be setting up to do the next thing. What I mean by that is maybe we can go turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Malcolm, turn 3 we can't win the game, but turn 3 we can, turn 3 we can't win the game, but turn 3 maybe we can drop a Spellskite, or we can play an Amoeboid Changeling, which will combo with our Sunshot Militia, so that we've got a way that if we, either a way to avoid being stopped, or a way to get the next win going. If you do get stopped on turn 3, you can be, or if you do get stopped on turn 3 or 4, where you can be geared up and ready to go again on your next turn. So I think mostly the way that people will build this deck, and the way that I would advise a more like beginner player to try to build this deck, is to build it with a very aggressive slant, where you really are just trying to jam wins turn after turn after turn. And you're going to have counter spells to protect your wins, and of course, just by virtue of having counter spells to protect your own wins, you will be able to stop other people from winning, or you'll be able to participate in the activity that is 3v1ing the player that's trying to win on turn X, right? Turn 3. And then once we get past that first attack, that first win attempt, there are lots and lots of things we can be trying to do. But generally it's going to be looking for the next win attempt, and that will often come in the form of one of two. They're not specific wins, but one of two sort of patterns, and the two patterns are going to be either a Niv-Mizzet with some kind of a curiosity effect, and in green we get an extra 1 mana curiosity affecting Keen Sense, which in my build I felt like that allowed me to cut the like $11 Ophidian Eye to make room for things like Spellskite. But the kind of secondary win that we're going to try to jam is going to be something like a type change. So we call them hack combos. It's going to be a way to turn something that was never meant to be a pirate into a pirate. Sunshot Militia, for instance. There's lots of these. I haven't updated this list. I updated it to cheapest to get my $99.33 price tag. I made just one little swap. I had to lose Misdirection, big sad. But I did get another piece of really good interaction in its place, so not that big of a loss. But this doesn't have some of the new Reckless Fireweavers, and I haven't tested the brand new one, Ardent Elementalist or whatever it's called. Not sure. Don't check me on that. But we're looking for some variation of like Fireweaver and Amoeboid Changeling, or Sunshot Militia with one of these instant speed hack spells, Trickery Charm, or maybe we're lucky enough to have a turn 1 Leyline of Transformation, or turn 0 Leyline of Transformation. If you have this in your hand at the beginning of the game, you can put it into play for free. And it says you just choose a creature type. You're going to choose pirates, and now all of your creatures are pirates. So what are these Glinthorn, or these Sunshot Militia, Reckless Fireweaver, Ingenious Artillerist type guys? What do they do when you turn them into a pirate? Let me just check that we're Yeah, okay, we're at 14 minutes already. Time flies when you're having fun, guys. I better get with the program and get to explaining what we're doing here. So using any of our myriad, what was it again? 15. Using any of our myriad tutor effects, we can find one of these Reckless Fireweaver type creatures that say some version of this text. Whenever an artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that should sound kind of familiar. It's very similar to the Glinthorn Buccaneer. Difference is, this guy's cheaper. It's easier to proc him. You don't have to be in combat. You can play any artifact and it just does the thing. Or when Malcolm or one of your pirates lands a shot to somebody's snoot, you'll make a treasure, which is an artifact, which will start this cascade of, well, if it's a pirate. So let's think about if this were a pirate. Then the text would be, whenever an artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now, Malcolm says when this, assuming it's a pirate, deals 1 damage to each opponent, we're going to make 3 treasures. Those treasures are artifacts that are entering. So those treasures will proc the Reckless Fireweaver. The Reckless Fireweaver will ping, which will proc Malcolm to make a treasure, and so on until everybody's burned out dead. So we've got Ingenious Artillerist, Reckless Fireweaver. Now, the Sunshot Militia might read a little bit different, but it's effectively the same thing. It's the same idea. It's only 2 mana. It says tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Sunshot Militia deals 1 damage to each opponent. You can activate this only as a sorcery. So this will allow you to tap 2 dorks or two of your things to ping each opponent. And if it's a pirate, that means making 3 treasures. Now, the kind of cute trick here is those treasures are things that you can tap to activate the guy. And so while you're making treasures, you're making enough treasures to tap the 2 treasures to ping everybody and make 3 treasures, and tap the 2 and ping everybody to make 3 treasures. So we just have to arrange for this guy to be in play with Malcolm, and we have to arrange for it to be a pirate. And again, we've got, there's kind of a gross number of these effects that you can choose from. The ones that I'm using in my version here of the deck is Trickery Charm. I believe there's another instant speed one that I've left off the list just because you can't play nothing but type changes in your deck or your card quality will suffer a little bit too much. But we've got Trickery Charm, we've got Leyline of Transformation, and we've got the Amoeboid Changeling. Those are the 3 probably best ones in my view for this deck. And like in my version of Malcolm Tana, we go a little bit harder into those effects, but this is a backup plan to a pretty easy to find plan A. Like in this deck, like the great thing you get from Tana, aside from the dorks that make turn 2 Malcolm extremely consistent, you get the creature tutors. And mostly those creature tutors are just going to be there to jam a Glinthorn. And it's going to be very easy to find your Glinthorn. And a lot of times that's just what you're going to use your creature tutors for. So I didn't think it was necessary to have a tremendous number of slots dedicated to a backup plan, essentially. Especially when our plan A is so robust. Like instead of tutoring for Sunshot, mostly we'll just be tutoring for Glinthorn. And even if we did have the opportunity then to try to tutor for Sunshot still requires a type change. And so it may still be better to just tutor for the Eternal Witness to get the Glinthorn Buccaneer back and run it again. And so you could kind of say that Glinthorn in this deck is plan A, and it's like at least tied for plan B. Even after it is stopped, all of your tutors can be used to grab your Eternal Witness, which will allow you to put the Glinthorn Buccaneer back into effect. So there's a plan A and a plan B and a plan C in there somewhere, depending on how you exactly divide all that up. and how you want to count these reckless Fireweaver effects. There's 3 versions of it, and there's 3 type changes. Then you've got your Glinthorn. That's first string. This is your first string. This is your A plan. Then your B plan is going to be either Eternal Witness to get your Glinthorn back and run it again, or combining one of these Reckless Fireweaver effects with one of the type changes. So you've got 3 separate A's and 3 separate B's that give you 3 very, very layered A plus B win conditions with your commander. So that means any of your 3 A's plus any of your 3 B's with your commander will create yet another win attempt. So it's a very robust deck. It's a very robust combo deck. It's really, really good at presenting wins over and over and over. In failing all of that, and I would say if you fail all of that in a specific way, if Malcolm just repeatedly gets dealt with, if people just keep murdering your Malcolm over and over, and that's not always the right thing to do. Sometimes it's better to point your swords to plowshares at the Glinthorn Buccaneer so you don't have to worry about that anymore. That's arguable. Sometimes they might want to point their STP at your Malcolm. If your Malcolm gets dealt with, a couple of times, if it gets dealt with once, it's like you're jamming mana dorks, you're creating treasures, you're playing your land drops out. It's not all that difficult to cast Malcolm at least a second and sometimes a third time. But if we're getting into that later part of the game where your guy is getting just kind of too expensive, then we can pivot into a Niv-Mizzet plan. So this is, depending on how you want to count it, Niv-Mizzet is maybe like plan D. I mean, for Niv-Mizzet Curiosity to be your plan D, to me that just kind of speaks volumes about how good the deck is, because this is a very good piece, and it's a very good combo, and we've got like lots of really good reasons to play the other card that is the B to the Niv-Mizzet A. And Magda can cheat Niv-Mizzet into play. So that not only cheats on mana, but is also a way to tutor your Niv-Mizzet, which is a standalone fantastic value engine, and a way to control the board also. Like, Niv-Mizzet is broken in this format. If you can get a Niv-Mizzet into play, and by the way, if you have to cast it from hand, it's not the hardest thing to do. You're playing a mana-rich deck. And if you do, it says this spell can't be countered. So the red, blue mana, the cost is not that prohibitive. It's not as prohibitive as it might seem. A lot of times you will have like tried to attack and got stuffed at some point that's going to still have you sitting there with 3-4 treasures and a couple of lands, and you'll just be able to hardcast your Niv-Mizzet. Or maybe this ends up being your creature tutor, or your creature tutor target. A lot of times, in the late game, you might pick up something like Nature's Rhythm, or what's the other good one for exactly the Niv-Mizzet combo? Shared Summons. So these creature tutors that are able to find 2 creatures, there's really not another A plus B in the deck that's 2 creatures. So the best thing that you can sometimes do with a Shared Summons is to grab your Niv-Mizzet Perun, and also grab your Tandem Lookout. Tandem Lookout just has the Curiosity text. It says, Soul Bond, so you just pair it with another creature. It says as long as Tandem Lookout is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has, whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. So if you pair that to Niv-Mizzet, you've basically won the game. So Niv-Mizzet says whenever you draw a card, Niv deals 1 damage to any target. Niv-Mizzet also says whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, you may draw a card. But so it's a value engine. Every time your opponents are casting things, you're drawing, you're pinging. But when you pair it up with Curiosity, you have the 2 opposite ends of the text where it's like one of the 2 cards causes a draw, and the other causes a damage, and that causes a draw, and that causes a damage. So like if we've got Niv-Mizzet and we slap a Keen Sense on Niv-Mizzet, Keen Sense says whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Niv-Mizzet says whenever you cast, or whenever a player casts a sorcery or an instant, you deal a damage. And so here, we ping an opponent's face. That will proc the Curiosity, Keen Sense, or Tandem Lookout, and that will make you draw a card, which will proc Niv-Mizzet to make you ping somebody, which will proc the Curiosity effect to have you draw a card, and so on and so forth. And here we are gated by the number of cards that we have left in the deck, and I mean, it might sound like sometimes that's a problem. It's not ever an actual problem. I've never had it. Like, if you go infinite with, well, if you go off with Niv-Mizzet Curiosity, you're not losing that game realistically. It's like, yeah, you might not have enough cards in your deck to literally murder all of the players, but usually you will have done damage. You've got a big beefy dragon. You've got a board state. Players are losing life just as a matter of course. And you're going to be able to, let's say you only have 40 cards left in your deck, you're going to be able to take out at least one or two players, and usually you'll have more than 40. The way this normally breaks down in game, you go into the late game where this becomes the best strategy. You put your Niv-Mizzet combo together, and whoever the biggest threat is, you make sure you murder that guy. And you usually can murder a second guy. Often you're going to be leaving one player behind, but not before you draw the majority of your deck. You have a dragon in play. You can ping and control the board state and draw cards at will, deal damage at will, and just beat people to death with a 5/5. So if I'm able to sculpt a perfect hand to 1v1 the last guy, and maybe he's got 12 life left, I can sculpt the perfect hand. I can probably transition into one of the other just A plus B win conditions. Even if not, I have a perfect hand. I have the ability to draw as many cards as I need to deal with that exact opponent, and I'm able to, on that next turn, so I'll sculpt a hand to make sure the guy's not gonna beat me on his next turn, and that makes sure that I'm able to close the game out on my next turn. That's how it works in practice. You just never lose. If you kill two of your opponents, you have one opponent left, and you've got the Niv-Mizzet with the Curiosity on. I can't say you will never lose. I can say I've never lost in that situation. Now, I have lost games where I managed to get a Niv-Mizzet in play with the Curiosity effect on it, but not after it actually goes off. It's hard to lose that game, but I did not too long ago in a cEdh tournament. I had the Niv-Mizzet with the Curiosity, and I had to pass the turn, but it's like, well, what are they going to do? Because as soon as somebody tries to cast a spell, I'm just going to pop off and win. And the very next player was a guy playing an Urza deck, and he Gilded Draked my Niv-Mizzet. I was literally able on my next turn to clone that Niv-Mizzet and have another Curiosity effect, and I still did not win that game. But that's, what are the odds that you're going to go, well, that's beyond the scope of this video by kind of a lot, and I know we're not doing any better on time than we were last time. I want to do some Goldfishing. That's the basic idea of the deck. Now, in my version of the deck, and you could build it different, you could really get streamline even more than this one is for just winning the game as fast as possible, as consistently as possible. But we do have in my version Bring to Light. Eldritch. This is for 5 mana. You can put your not Niv-Mizzet, but any of your other creatures directly into play very easily. You only need to cast. Let me read the card. 5 mana, converge, search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of colors that you spent casting Bring to Light. So as long as you spend 3 colors of mana, and you've got a 3-color deck, and it makes treasures, it's not difficult to do that. As long as you spend 3 colors of mana, it costs, you have to spend 2. it costs Simic to cast it. So then as long as you crack a treasure for a red or tap a red land while you're casting your Bring to Light, it will find your Glinthorn Buccaneer and put it directly into play. Now, Bring to Light is a really good card. It has a lot more uses than that. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Because it will tutor and cast, not just creatures, but also instants and sorceries. But most of the time, this is going to be a creature tutor that puts the creature into play. Same with Eldritch Evolution, same with Nature's Rhythm, same with Neoform. That's kind of the thing we're trying to do. Then we've got some backups. We've got, I mean, it's hard to call these cards backups. They're super good. Everybody knows I'm an Archdruid's Charm stan. We are in a green dork deck that makes treasure. The green is not a problem, and this just does whatever you need it to do off the top of the deck. But very often what it does is finds your creature combos. Court of Calling, same thing, instant speed. Enter the battlefield. This is another one that puts the creature directly into play. And then you've got Shared Summons to kind of round out the tutor suite. Now for your hacks, you do have hacks, and when I say hack, I mean ways to turn things into pirates. You've got one hack that is a creature, you've got one hack that's an enchantment, and you've got one hack that is an instant, and that's not by chance. Like that is intentional. And the reason that we want to diversify is because like our Bring to Light, well, Bring to Light can find either of the things, but some of our tutors will only find one of the different types of hacks, and so we want to make sure that if we have one of these Fireweaver type effects in play and we have a tutor, we can win the game. And so like if you have Solve the Equation and Sunshot Militia, you'll get there. But at the same time, if you have Ingenious Artillerist and Eldritch Evolution, you'll get there. Because you can find the creature or you can find the non-creature spell. So all of your tutors do all of the things that you need them to do, basically. There's some other synergies that I think are really worth discussing. Also, we've got Imperial Recruiter. Now, this is one I think you could cut to get $10, $11 back into your budget. But maybe if you're going balls to the wall, just tutor Glinthorn into play and win the game. I don't know if you'd cut this or not. Maybe not. Maybe there's maybe you could find a couple of pretty good creature tutors that you could get in its place budget-wise. We've also got Fauna Shaman, which can assemble like Niv-Mizzet and Tandem Lookout, but most of the time it's just going to discard something to find the one piece that you're missing, whether it be Glinthorn or your Reckless Fireweaver. Or maybe you just need something to protect your combo, and then you can go off. But some of the synergies that kind of really bring the deck into a very powerful space and allow you to have like a really good, at least in my build, a really good grind backup plan. And I don't even know if the grind is a backup plan per se, the way I play the deck, the way I build and play the deck. But the curiosity effects hold the room together. Because we can, just as easily as trying to go off fast, we can go turn 2 Malcolm, turn 3 cEdh, and then we can slap a curiosity effect on our Malcolm, and now we're attacking and making 3 treasures every turn and drawing 3 cards every turn. Or we can put a Lightning Rig Crew in play. This is a tap to deal 1 damage to each opponent that's already a pirate. So this will tap to deal 1 damage to each opponent and make 3 treasures with Malcolm in play. If you have a curiosity effect on this guy, you are going off. This is a sick value engine. At $100 budget, you don't get much better value engines than this. This is going to become, with a Soul Bonded Tandem Lookout, it turns into tap it, ping 3 players, make 3 mana, make 3 treasures, and draw 3 cards. Then it also has a text that if you cast a Amoeboid Changeling or a Warkite Marauder or any of your pirates, Siren Storm Tamer, then it will untap the Lightning Rig crew and you get to do it again. And you're actually drawing a lot of cards to help you find either the pirate or sometimes a tutor to find the pirate that will allow you to cast the pirate to untap the Lightning Rig crew and just kind of have a storm, a little like mini storm run while building up enough mana to cast your Niv-Mizzet. Then you've got just some value engines like Grazilax, and Magda is just busted in the deck. Putting a Curiosity effect on a Sunshot Militia is busted. If you put a Curiosity on a Reckless Fireweaver, and then you go to combat with Malcolm, if you have a Ketis in play, now we're going into Magic Fairy. Like, this stuff happens, though, right? Because in order for that to even be the thing you would do, we already have to be in the late game. So if you have found a Reckless Fireweaver and a Curiosity, you can put the Curiosity on the Reckless Fireweaver, attack with Malcolm, make a treasure, ping 3 people, draw 3 cards. But if you have Ketis in the mix there, now you're drawing 9 cards. So that's pretty sick. So the deck can do crazy things. It makes a lot of treasures and it draws a lot of cards. And I've always said if you're not bottlenecked on mana and you're not bottlenecked on card draw, then you have no bottleneck. And if you have no bottleneck, then you have no reason to not be winning the game. So yeah, that's kind of the quick tour of the deck. That new piece of interaction, by the way, is one I think you should take note of. This is one of my favorite bounce spells. I think this is slept on like by a lot. And in a lot of decks, this is probably the best bounce spell you could run. Expel from Oraska, 2 mana instant, return. It's a bounce spell, but it bounces target non-land permanent. That's very important. It's really good to have these catch-all answers in your deck. Every once in a while, you're just going to run into something you cannot deal with any other way. And having access to a bounce spell and at least a couple few ways to tutor it is really important. Somebody plays some like Titania's Song or something that just totally shuts us off, that's an instant that we can't deal with. We can always use Muddle the Mixture to find this, or we can use the Converge tutor. We can use Bring to Light to just actually find it and cast it. We can use Solve the Equation to find it. What is it? So it's a bounce spell. That's kind of boring, but I mean, it's bounce anything to hand spell. But it not only is a bounce anything to hand spell for 2 mana at instant speed, but if you have Ascended, and that just means if you control 10 or more permanents at any time in the game, you get the city's blessing, and it just lasts forever. And that's really good in a dork deck that makes treasures, because those treasures counts, your lands count, your dorks count, your commanders, and there are 2 of them, they count. You can actually use your other commander, Tana, to make more little pieces of cardboard tokens to get to the city's blessing. And at that point, this is a really busted bounce spell. Now for 2 mana, you're not bouncing the thing to hand, you're bouncing it to the top of their deck. That's a dramatic difference. That means that you just cost them a draw step. That means that there was not only a tempo swing, but you also cost them a card. You could either say you cost them the card from their hand, or you cost them their next draw step, however you want to look at it. Very good spell in a deck that can put material into play. We've got like a really good counterspell suite, really trying to stick to the slim interaction, the protective interaction that's going to allow us to just hold 1 mana open and be able to protect our own win, like Dispel, Miscast, Divert, Flare of Duplication, for instance. Time for Goldfishing. Boy, oh boy, going late again. Oh, and another one of my favorite bounce spells is Run Away Together. This does only bounce creatures, but it does get 2 separate creatures. And in a deck that's playing ETB creatures like Eternal Witness and we're not playing Spellseeker. Eternal Witness and Impure Recruiter. The runaway together can bounce your ETB dude and somebody else's threat, or you can just do a massive tempo swing of just bouncing two people's big scary things. And then, or maybe it's like you've got two separate rule of law creatures in play. You can end step, cast the runaway together, bounce both of their rule of laws, and then you can untap and win on your turn. But let's do some goldfishing, because the deck goldfish as well. If I were building this deck today, I would tweak the mana base. 781 and a very functional mana base, land base I should say. But there are some cards in here I don't think need to be in here, and there are some cards in here that are missing from here. We could swap out the Rejuvenating Spring for the the blue-green version of Cascade Bluffs, and that would save us something like $4. So there is some optimization you could do and some customization you could do on this deck. But let's do some goldfish. Let's do some test hands. All right, first 7 doesn't look too good. Doesn't look too bad. So we can do turn 2 Malcolm. We don't have red mana, which is a bit of a problem, but it might not be that big of a problem. This is going to be a very pod dependent hand. On a first 7, maybe we can do better than this, but depending on the pod, maybe we won't do better than this. Maybe this is exactly what we want. Well, let me just run this out and show you what this is going to look like. We don't have red mana, but remember, our guy does make treasure. And, the only thing we really need red mana for is, there are red cards in the deck, but the main thing we need, heavy red mana for is Glinthorn. And we have an all green way to cheat Glinthorn into play. So this is like a good hand. It's not a fast hand, but it's a good hand. It's a good protected hand with some interaction. Depending on the pod, this might be exactly the type of thing you're looking for. But let's play this, and we will draw for turn. Another green way to put our Glinthorn into play. So now we're just really not worried about red. We will play land for turn. It is going to be a forest and a wild growth. And then we're going to go to turn 2, and we are going to cast a Malcolm. And we will go to turn 3. Another nice little piece of interaction. I see Tana over there chomping at the bit to come into play, and she might get to come out to play because we've got a Flare of Duplication, and free interaction is nice. So there's a couple of ways we could go about this. We could be going to combat, making red, so we can play our Tana. Then we could play our Tana, which could start to turn on our Expel from Maraska and help us to cast our Chord of Calling with her little tokens, because Chord of Calling has Convoke. So there's an argument for playing our Tana, which is rare. But Flare of Duplication and the Chord of Calling make it seem reasonable, and Expel. So she'd help us get the City's Blessing, which would turn this into a very good bounce spell. But I think most of the time, really what we're going to want to do is just do Spellskite, attack, get our treasure, which we're going to probably end up using for green mana. And this is turn 3, so everything's kind of right on track. Not the fastest, but it's a good start. Good way to play the deck. And we might have to interact with somebody, and Spellskite can be a sneaky piece of interaction. Somebody can try to target a thing they need to target in order to win the game, and you can redirect that target to your Spellskite. There's all kinds of secret uses for Spellskite, and no one ever notices it. So it is kind of sneaky good. Or we might just have to use a actual, it would be a little bit, I don't know, feels bad to have to burn a treasure to cast a Resculpt, but we might have to do it. If somebody's threatening a win, you got to do what you got to do. Or we might just have to use the bounce to hand spell. But ideally, what we'd like to do is end step. Okay, we've got a little bit of a trouble here. I was thinking that we just need a green to get the Glinthorn. That's not exactly true, because if we use the Archdruid's Charm to get the Glinthorn, that's going to put it in our hand, and we still won't have the red mana. So I think what we're going to have to do is convoke cast the Court of Calling. Okay, so we're going to have to do some math now. I didn't think that out properly. Okay, so effectively we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boy, we've got 7, but we don't have the green. So we've got more than enough to actually cast this for x equals 3. But we don't have... Wait, yeah, no, we've got it. We go green. 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. We're good. We go to our turn 4, and we are going to, before combat, go 1, 2 green, crack that for green, tap this for x equals 1, 2, 3, and we cast our Court of Calling, and that's Court of Calling x equals 3. Which is going to allow us to put the Glinthorn directly into play and hopefully win the game. And we do have some protection in that if somebody tries to murder our Malcolm or they try to murder our Glinthorn, we can redirect that to the Spellskite. So let's just use this as a proxy for our Glinthorn. We've got this in play. We go to combat. We're going to have to deal damage, so we will need an open lane. We're only worried about 1. This guy is going to make a treasure because he flies, and our Glinthorn will hit somebody and make a treasure as long as we can get him through anywhere. And then we will make 2 treasures. We will use the 2 treasures. We'll crack them for red to activate our Glinthorn, which even after he has dealt combat damage is still an attacking creature. And so you can just Glinthorn, murder everybody. Turn 4, and if that gets stopped in some way, shape, or form, probably we still... Let's say somebody just counterspelled the Cord. That's the most likely way we would have got stopped there. Well, we still make our treasure. So all is not lost. Then we go to our next turn. And now we can either transmute the Drift of Phantasms into Glinthorn, and we can do that with blue X, or we could develop the Tana. We're kind of back in the same situation we were before. We've still got green. We can use our Archdruid's Charm, and we're really in a good position to play the long game now. If things didn't go our way there, we can start grinding, and it's not a problem. Maybe we do crack this for red. Green, red, blue. Cast this guy. And now we've got fodder for Flare of Duplication. So we've got a free counterspell to counterspell a counterspell. We've got all kinds of interaction. Tutors. We're like amped up to go into the late game now. Let's do another hand. Now this is my build of the deck. This might not be the way you want to build the deck. If you are, like the way I kind of pitched the video, if you're coming into this format, you might want to just really lean into creature tutors, protection spells, and Glinthorn Buccaneer. Maybe a backup plan of like the hack combos, and just go like really deep into that. And not do so much of the grindy value, mid-rangey type stuff. That's kind of my dig. But I like this deck because it can be fast and it can grind. It's a turbo deck in one game, and then people think they've got you figured out. And then the next game, you reach this like escape velocity where nobody can touch you because you're just out grinding, even grindy decks. You know, if you assemble your engines right. Do we keep this? Let's see. We have a turn 2 Malcolm. That's a big thing. We've got a Curiosity. That's pretty good. We've got a Tutor. Pretty good. Again, this is more like geared to like get your engine set up and grind. And we did kind of already show a hand that was sort of like that. I mean, it presented a turn 4 win. That's just by no means like a fast win. To be real, in game, I would keep this hand. This is the kind of hand I like to play with. And it would just be like, turn 1, play land. Turn 2, we play a land and burn a simian and play our commander. And then turn 3, we'd maybe slap a curiosity on our commander, start making treasures and drawing cards, or we would tutor for one half and tutor for the other half. Or Archdruid's Charm is nasty. Like, this also can just kill creatures. Like, there's some specific creatures that will shut this deck off. They're going to be like Manglehorn. They're going to be like, well, we don't have Bowmasters in budget, but Manglehorn shuts us off pretty completely. Collector Roof, that's another big one that shuts us down. And Archdruid's Charm can help with, so it's a modal spell that says the choose one, basically do anything you want. The first mode is search your library for a creature or a land. You can put the land into play, or you can put the creature in your hand. So that's probably the most common, but not by a lot. Very often we're going to use the other modes. Maybe we want to put a +1/+1 counter on our Malcolm, making it a 3/3, and then it will deal its damage to that Collector Oof, or that Manglehorn, or whatever other hate bear might be causing you trouble. The mode is put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It deals its damage. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Or you might use the last mode, which is really 2 modes. It's exile target artifact or exile target enchantment. There's never going to be a point in the game where that's not going to matter. One of these modes will always be effective. Like I said, I might have ran that out. I've got some interaction, I've got some card draw, I've got some tutors, I've got my engine online fast. But I think that in the interest of showing what the deck is, kind of the reason I'm showing it is more of a good deck for beginning players. Let's take a look at another hand. So here we've got some good protection for our combo. We've got our turn 2 Malcolm, which is a big deal. We've got turn 2 Malcolm. We've got interaction. We've got card draw. I think on a second 7, we probably are just going to want to keep this. And yeah, just play. It plays a strong game of Magic, this hand. Turn 1, pass. Turn 2. Which one is this? That should be turned on for some number of our colors. We needed to do blue, or we would have had to pitch the hand. Turn 3. This is not going according to plan. We needed to top deck better than that for me to feel super comfortable. So I don't know that we would want to put a curiosity on our. So we could do this. Yeah, we could do this. We could do a curiosity on Malcolm, knowing that we have an Autumn's Veil to protect it. And then we go to combat, and maybe we have to blow the Autumn's Veil, maybe we don't. Make a treasure, draw a card, and there's another one of these effects. So if we... so now I think probably we would just leave this mana. The other thing to do would be to run out our spell skite, but I kind of like having the ability to divert and to Autumn's Veil. Take a look at another hand. So this is a slow tutor, but at least it's a tutor. So we would go to combat first, leaving up interaction, so that if anybody tries to kill our dude, let's say finally somebody does, we're on turn 4. So we use the Autumn's Veil, but still we make a treasure, draw a card. Good, we didn't miss another land drop. And then probably we just play our Fauna Shaman, and then we go to the next turn, and now we can pretty easily this is turn 5, but we should have been able to survive. Even if let's say we had to blow the mana, the mana leak to survive. Maybe we would have had to use a treasure to do. Well, no, we had blue mana most likely. And now we would tap this, discard this to tutor for probably Glinthorn. It's usually Glinthorn. Magda's pretty good too. I almost wish I would have built a more turbo version to show you guys what the turbo version looks like. We would just be trying to stick a Glinthorn and being able to back it up with divert. And hopefully that's GG's. And one more. That's just kind of El Natural. Draw a card for turn. Play a land. Probably doesn't matter very much. I don't know where all of our dorks have been. Go to our next turn. Turn to Malcolm. Next turn. That's a nice, would have been a lot better earlier, but it's good. And now you can do the turbo thing. You can go turn 3, present a win, and if this gets dealt with, then it does. And we go to next turn, and we will try to win again. What's the way to do that? We can do regrowth. Regrow the Glinthorn. No, wait. We want to use... Okay, this is in the graveyard. This is in the hand. We'll use this for the colorless, for the regrowth, and we'll have one colorless floating. Tap that for green. I believe this still has one counter on it. So we've got one colorless floating casting our regrowth. Like one colorless floating beyond the regrowth. And then we will tap this for red and crack this for red. And do this and threaten a win again. And if it still fails, we still will make a treasure. And we'll go to a next turn. And now we can start thinking about one of our backup plans. We can go like colorless and blue for this guy, and then we can look to win with on our next turn when this guy doesn't have summoning sickness. We can use the Court of Calling to find a Sunshot Militia or Reckless Fireweaver and present another win. And so you could make your version of the deck just look a lot more like this last Goldfish looks like, where it's just like Glinthorns and Tutors and ways to retrieve your Glinthorn and backup plans instead of like all the grind engine and super interaction heavy stuff that I used. And actually, I'd be happy to help you build that deck. I haven't built that deck personally, but I think you could build a very fast, very consistent, and very robust version of this deck that just wins and wins and wins. It's just going to threaten win after threaten win after threaten win. More or less like a parasitic deck, but not totally, because you'd still have interaction. You would be planning to use it for yourself. But yeah, you could build a very greedy and very fast version of this deck. I didn't have one to show you, but this is my shit here. So I think that's going to do it. That's Temur Malcolm. That's what it looks like when you play my version of the deck. It's a little bit different every time, but it's always doing busted shit. Till next time, guys. Word to your mothers and your pets that you should have spayed or neutered. Word to your fathers, they don't get enough love. Word to everybody. And namaste, nerds.